There are lots of questions about the Rays. Will they get a new stadium? Will they fix the old stadium? How long are they going to be in a minor league stadium? Are they going to move to a new city? Are they going to actually win the East because the Yankees are so banged up? I don't know all the answers, but I know who you should ask. Kevin and Ulises from Locked On Rays.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to a Locked On MLB, Locked On Rays crossover. This is the podcast where we're either going to talk about all of Major League Baseball or specifically the Tampa Bay Rays, and we're crossing it over left and right. I am the host of Locked On MLB. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan, but please call me Sully. And joining me today are the two-headed monster of the Tampa Bay Rays, Kevin and Ulises. Introduce yourself, please.
I can't top that intro. That was great.
That was
Kevin
perfect.
Weiss, co-host of Locked On Rays. I can't beat that.
Ulises Sambrano, Locked On Rays. Sully, I want you to introduce me to every room I ever walk in.
Done. I'm in like Flynn. By the way, follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on the Instagrams. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But mainly, if you want to get a hold of me, just post stuff right here on the YouTubes. And where can people find you?
Locked On Rays on every platform.
Yes.
By the way, we're trying to push YouTube a lot because we did do 2,100 subscribers, which is a lot for us. So, hey, get us to 2,200. That'd be nice.
Yeah. And by the way, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel. Go to FanDuel. That's right. I don't know what their slogan is. But before we get on, we always have to do the trivia question. The trivia question is this one. From yesterday's show, it was Darryl Strawberry's birthday. And I said that when Darryl Strawberry reached 30-30 in 1987, he also had a teammate that went 30-30. It was the first time in baseball history that teammates went 30 home runs and 30 combined for 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases. It's the first time teammates did that in a single year.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the other 1987 Met who did that? Do you guys know?
4 years before we were born, but I'm going to go with Mr. Seinfeld, Keith Hernandez.
And Kevin, your choice?
Shot in the dark. Big shot in the dark. Mookie Wilson.
Nope and nope. John Murphy Jr., who's an everyday Sully, knew it. It was Hojo, Howard Johnson. He was able to do that. By the way, this goes to show why I love that there's a wide range of ages there, because I thought this question was way too easy. But then again, I realized that I was 15 years old when that happened, and really in the sweet spot. That's how much older I am than you all. So
We were -4, Sully. We were -4.
-4. Well, there you go. Now I'm look at. I still have my hair though.
That's right.
Getting gray, but I still have the hair. I got stuff on top, unlike Tropicana Field. Let's just go right into it. We've all known that there had to be something done about Tropicana Field. Little did we know it would be the hand of God opening it up like a sardine can to exacerbate the situation. I talked a lot last summer because I was also co-hosting Locked On A's all summer. Where we were talking about the debacle, the self-imposed debacle that took place in the East Bay, and the fact that they are in self-imposed exile in Sacramento is a disgrace. What's happening in Tampa Bay is a different situation. This was an act of God that ripped the stadium roof off and said, okay, let's get this going. But what it's led to is a weird domino effect of fingers being pointed, public money being argued over, and maybe someone whispering in the Rays' ears, hey, maybe this location's not an ideal spot for a Major League Baseball team. Maybe we have several decades of data to back that up. I've talked a lot about it, but I want to get your take on it. This whole mess, from my point of view, looks like the Rays ownership got some cold feet in this situation and probably would like to set up camp somewhere else, but not lose that land. The city and county are like, hey, we got bigger fish to fry than you all with this, but we'll agree to, we'll call your bluff on the agreement. And right now, we don't know where the hell the Rays are going to play, especially if we get to the end of the month without an agreement. So tell me, you have the floor. I'm ceding my time. Tell us a little bit of what's going on there, what your position is on this whole mess.
Kev?
You're talking about Tropicana Field and that kind of causing the issues.
Well, yeah, and it's basic, but also the fact that they can't use Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing in a minor league ballpark, but that's not a long-term situation.
No.
And now they're clashing with Pinellas County and St. Petersburg over the new stadium, which they probably shouldn't be building anyway because it's on the same spot of the other stadium, which no one seemed to go to. Tampa Bay is a solid sports market. They support the Bucks. They support the Bolts. They could support the Rays if they didn't have the stadium in the wrong place. And I think that, and from my perspective, this is a situation where they had a land situation with the Rays ownership, but now they're saying, well, wait a minute, are we going to pour more money into this? And it's good money after bad. Maybe we should move to a different spot in Central Florida. Am I wrong for thinking that there's a little bit of cold feet and maybe some posturing going on from the ownership?
No, I think you're absolutely right on the cold feet part, because the original agreement was the city and the county will foot $600 million plus a lot of infrastructure improvements that's not even incorporated within the $600 million. Rays, you bring us more or less the other half plus cost overruns. And the Rays are arguing that because they delayed the vote on the bonds, that caused the cost overruns to increase exponentially. And they essentially, I guess, without putting it out there, so to speak, or maybe they kind of have in some of their press clippings, is we want to renegotiate, or we want a better deal for us. But really the hurricane was the thing that caused all this. I would maybe argue that if there wasn't a hurricane, we might be putting shovels in the ground. But once the Trop was deemed unplayable, there was some back and forth as to, hey, Rays, where are you going to play in the interim? Are you going to stay in Pinellas County, or are you going to move to the Tampa side? And obviously, if you're an elected official in St. Petersburg, or more so Pinellas County, you want the Rays to stay on that side of the bay for the tourism impact and other impacts of that. And then the Rays were basically radio silent until the day before, the day of that, there was an announcement that came out. Yeah, we're playing to Sambrano Field in Tampa. And that really ticked off everybody on the city and county side, more so.
Yeah.
And then that caused a whole steamroll from there.
And Kevin talks about cold feet, and you did too, Sully, but it also has to do with egos, because the lack of communication that Kevin speaks to 30 minutes before the Steinbrenner Field announcement became nationwide news, the people in St. Petersburg did not know this. The Pinellas County Commission did not know this. 30 minutes before they were notified. So I know it's probably an MLB decision, obviously, to, hey, this is the most suitable place for MLB players to play, and this is what's going to happen. Let's talk to the Yankees and all that, and they set it up. In this whole ordeal, why aren't you communicating to the people that are going to give you $600 million, that are your partners, that you have shaken their hand and have trusted this whole process that's going to basically tie you for 30 years? You did not say a word to them. So then it also goes back to egos, because after they do that, well, guess what? Then the bonds get delayed and everything. There's like a whole mudslinging in between the media, between the county commission, the city, and Stu and Brian Auld and Matt Silverman, presidents of the race. And it has just been just an ego fight that has now lasted, 5 months? And we still don't have an answer on where will the Rays play in 2026 and where will the Rays play post 2028.
You can't have a situation where you have two teams in the American League playing minor league baseball stadiums in perpetuity.
Right.
Now, the A's, as I've said before, the A's situation is a much different situation. Fisher never wanted to stay put in Oakland, and the commissioners seem to be perfectly online with letting him run that team into the ground, slash the payroll, raise ticket prices, then point and let the stadium fall apart and point at the fans saying, "Why aren't you showing up?" And then skedaddling to, well, we're not allowed to say where they're going to play. It's a mystery city where they're going to play. They're just the Athletics now. They're the Sacramento A's this year. Say it loud and say it proud. And where all this nonsense of a stadium being built in Las Vegas, which a grand total of 7 people in Las Vegas want, and the shovels are not in the ground yet. In fact, not even enough parking spots are available. And the footprint's not big enough for a baseball stadium. And they think they're going to get 30,000 a night there because, you have a choice to see Celine Dion or the A's play the Brewers. Obviously, they're going to go see the A's play the Brewers. What the hell is going on in this world? But this is a different situation. I got the sense that the Rays management did want to stay in Central Florida, did see that this is a place where they could maybe foster a fan base and get going there. But I absolutely believe that when this whole thing came about, yes, there was egos, and how there was no communication, you're right, is absolutely banana boats. But there's also, maybe this was a chance of, all right, maybe this is our way to get the hell out of this situation, and not necessarily get out of Central Florida, but get out of St. Petersburg, which, I mean, at least from an outsider, seems like they built that stadium for the White Sox in the 80s, and they're stuck with it.
Yeah.
But the rub is, too, it's not just about the stadium. It's about all the redevelopment property that the Rays would have a key to and make so much money based off of that. I mean, it's kind of been relayed to some extent that you don't have to have great attendance. You could have subpar attendance at the new stadium, but because of all the commercial development that is going to be going on the surrounding 60 plus acres, Stu Sternberg or whoever owns the Rays would be a very rich person at that point.
Yeah. And it would, just so other people that might not be Rays fans, but maybe they know about the Atlanta Braves and the Battery that they have outside. That's what they have sold the fandom when this stadium was introduced, and the renderings and all that. It's like they would just make a hub outside of the stadium, so it'd be kind of like a mini city within a city. And even when no games were being played, guess what? People would go there and have that feel just like in Atlanta.
There'd be concerts, entertainment, nightlife, museum, hotels, residences. I mean, it'd have the works, very similar to the Battery.
Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the potential options of what could happen here if St. Petersburg falls apart. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? You ever try to work out a stadium deal and say, hey, wait a minute, I thought we had $600 million in here. It's easy to lose track, whether you're a podcaster or you own a Major League Baseball team. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investment spending all in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much money I was spending on food and groceries and all sorts of services that I didn't need a subscription for anymore. And so instead of juggling multiple apps, I use Monarch, check my finances, track my spending, and I can even plan some long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever as well. You can have shared accounts, personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Monarch Money, let's save dough. I just created a new tagline for that.
I dig it, and I think they will too.
I love it.
I'm sure it was perfectly well authorized. Kevin and Ulises from Locked On Rays are joining me, your pal Sully, on a Locked On MLB Locked On Rays crossover here. All right, there's some things to bring about. The commissioner and some of the committee around the commissioners rumored to want to be forcing a sale if this thing falls apart, which of course the great irony is that Fisher is involved in that committee after not selling the A's and basically an entire fan base begging him to sell the team to one of the, you go to any Starbucks in the Bay Area, there's 9 billionaires in there. I'm sure one of them could have ponied up the cash to buy the A's and keep them in the East Bay or at least in the Silicon Valley. But no, they're in exile in Sacramento until they never play in Las Vegas. But now there's push of maybe wanting to get new ownership because the idea of leaving public money on the table is just the biggest crime you can possibly commit. Apparently there's rumors of the DeBartolo family and things like that, and maybe trying to see if they can create a new stadium there, or the Orlando Dreamers people want to, stick Barry Larkin into everyone's face. The thing is that with moving a baseball team or a stadium, it's not like football, or it's not like how the Coyotes could go, oh, we're going to move from Phoenix to Salt Lake City tomorrow, because there's lots of college football and college basketball arenas or hockey arenas that you can just go to temporarily. There are no temporary Major League Baseball stadiums hanging around, not even Montreal at this point. So
unless you want to play in a minor league ballpark or convert Raymond James Stadium into a baseball field, and I don't think either of those are feasible.
Which is of course, everyone loved Camden Yards. Camden Yards is great, but it also created the whole, we're going to have a baseball-only stadium, baseball, football-only stadium. Well, you know what? Those multi-purpose parks served a purpose. That you didn't have one empty stadium next to a full stadium. Okay, that's a whole other rant. But the Rays, if they don't work something out soon, it's not like they can just move into another stadium in 2026 or 2027.
No.
And if they want to move to Orlando, if they want to move to Ybor City, if they want to move to downtown Tampa, what's the plan? What's the design? What's the permits? What's the funding?
I mean, I like to think I have a sizable home. They can't play in my backyard. They just can't.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Sully.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a couple cars that could park there for the games, but it's insanity, because if people don't know this, we should tell them March 31st is the deadline of when they have to show that they have done their work and that the shovels can get started on the construction. Kevin and I think we're on the same wavelength of that's not going to happen.
No,
that's not going to happen. They're not going to show that. And so the sale would be imminent. And there are groups now with names attached, which we didn't really care for when they were like, ooh, Tampa groups are out there trying to sell. No, I don't care about it until I see names. Now we have names. Now we have names attached to these groups. So it gets a little bit more serious. The Athletic is reporting on it. It gets where there's smoke, there's fire sort of thing. One of the groups, I believe the one with Joe Malloy, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
He is the one that said they would be happy and excited to sign on for the St. Pete deal.
And for those of you who don't know, Joe Malloy was basically the person who was running the Yankees for those years when Steinbrenner was suspended for the second time. This time for getting dirt on Dave Winfield. Yes, that was a real thing that happened. And of course, with Steinbrenner suspended, the Buck Showalter and Stick Michael were able to develop a dynasty because of all the, the rewritten history or revisionist history of Steinbrenner always put a winner on the field. I'm old enough to remember when the chant at Yankee Stadium was "George must go, George must go," and the famous George Costanza rant of "We've seen you taking our team and making them a laughing stock." Yeah, that's because Steinbrenner was running the team into the ground. They didn't succeed until he was suspended. I only bring this up because you're playing in George Steinbrenner Field for the next year. Not that, as if it's hard enough to shake the Yankee fandom from Floridians. They're literally going to play in George Steinbrenner Field for 1 year, probably.
Well, this is the thing. Kevin and I have spoken. If nothing gets done with the stadium, right, with Tropicana Field, and those renovations don't start to happen soon, they won't open at Tropicana Field in 2026.
No.
So let's say they even start tomorrow. Sully, it's very unlikely that opening day would be played at Tropicana Field. So that's already out. So where are they going to play in 2026? I'm of the opinion that if MLB said yes to Steinbrenner Field once, they can say yes to it twice. But I don't know. Maybe Kevin, do you have another opinion on that?
I mean, I know it's not ideal, but that might be the only option.
Where are they going to play
at this point? And at least there would be some familiarity with, hey, we've already had to do this once and swap out all the signage and branding of Yankees related stuff. Like, I think that would be the easiest fix, even though it's, not the greatest situation, but that's all you got if you've got a baseball stadium without a roof. And last I checked, because there is so much infighting between the Rays ownership and the city's trying to do essentially the bare minimum and just prepare construction documents and not do anything else.
Also, I should say this because you have a nationwide fandom, Sully. There's a lot of people on X and social media that say, why don't they just play the Trop without the roof? It'll just be great. Like, okay, I just have to say one thing.
Okay, that's not me saying that.
No,
that's
you're not saying
me
that.
saying that.
You're not saying that. Yeah. Drainage system. When that stadium was built, it did not have that very important factor. Florida, there's a lot of rain. So when you had the roof, there was no need for drainage. And you're like, well, why don't you build a drainage system? Because it would be insanely expensive. It's already expensive to just build a roof and do the reparations. I think they estimated to around $60 million. A drainage, you would have to tear all of that away, put a drain, it just would be insanely costly. It's not going to happen.
And Ulises, think about this. You're doing that to fix the stadium that you want to get rid of.
Yes,
exactly. It's like if you totaled your car and you're now trying to fix the engine. No, it got totaled.
Yeah, right.
They totaled the stadium.
Exactly.
The last game has been played in Tropicana Field. If it costs more than this dime to fix Tropicana Field, for what? You're trying to get the hell out of there.
Right.
I mean, I think, the Orlando stuff is popping up. I don't buy it because they don't have a state. They have lovely drawings. I saw lovely drawings of Labatt Stadium in Montreal as well. There's lovely drawings of a Major League Baseball stadium in Portland. Okay. I can make a lovely drawing of a Major League Baseball stadium floating up the Nile. Yeah. The thing is that until it's built with funding, with actual, they have the dough, it's not going to happen. I think that's there as a ruse. I'll tell you what I think is going to happen, because I think the ownership thing is over. They are going to sell the team, because once you start doing public finger pointing, there's no going back. I'm going to go all Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. There's no going back.
Well,
you've changed things.
We've changed things. Yeah. How is anybody on the Tampa side, on the Hillsborough County side, going to trust Stu after what they do to St. Pete?
And I'm not as an outsider looking at this. I've seen the Rays management, do their best to put a winning product on the field despite all of the disadvantages that they have, which is a hell of a lot more than you could say about the other team in Florida, who finally put a winning product on the field and said, oh, we can't have that. And they put 2 sticks of dynamite and it blew it up before they even had a chance to build anything up there. Gee whiz, why aren't lots of Marlin fans showing up? But the Rays are consistently putting a quality product on the field, and I give the management and the ownership credit for as much as I can for that. But if this is what's happening, and there's public finger pointing, I give them credit for wanting to stay, because I never want to see a team leave. I wanted the A's to stay. I wanted the Expos to stay. I want the Rays. I think baseball can work in Central Florida. I absolutely do. But they need the right stadium situation. They need the right ownership situation. And there's no coming back from this. And I think that they will sell to, I think they will sell to someone, because there's so much money to be made in the redevelopment of that area. It's almost has nothing to do with baseball.
Yeah.
It has more to do with not blowing that deal.
Yeah. And I think also that, Manfred and the other owners, they're going to force Sternberg's hand to do something. I think there's even a possibility of curbing some of the revenue sharing or taking that back, because this is such a bad look for MLB. If you have all this money that is being gifted to you to build a new stadium, and then you backtrack on it. And Manfred, we actually had one of the Pinellas County commissioners on the show, and let me just say that he is pretty much in love with what Manfred had to say. Like, Manfred reassured him and everybody else at the table that you can almost, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's like, Stu can say anything he wants. We're going to get you there's going to be a stadium. Things are going to get worked out.
Right.
And I think with the Manfred situation, that was the beginning of the inkling of MLB kind of saying, Stu, what are you doing? Because I know that it can get lost into people like, oh, the city is offering their money, they're giving their money. It's $600 million, and I know that it's easy to equate Oakland and the Rays and all that, but thank you for saying that at the beginning of the show. They're not the same.
It's not
Oakland
the same
never
thing.
gave $600 million to the A's to build it. That would never was the case. The Pinellas County and the city of St. Petersburg are literally saying, hey, here's $600 million. Like we agreed to. Are you going to do this or not? And they have 19 more days to say yay or nay.
Well, I have a few parting thoughts to bring up, but
what you should own and what you should continue to purchase is wonderful pistachios.
Yes.
Yes, it's on the camera right there. Good.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, be sure to crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, it is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Be sure to visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Think about all the money you can make at FanDuel and then manage it with Monarch money. Man, with that, it's so refreshing. I feel like getting some wonderful pistachios.
Yeah, you could buy a baseball team with all that money.
I mean, I might as well tell Stu about this.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
he can solve it.
If he had Monarch money during all this time, then but they'd get a higher payroll.
There you go.
There's the other elephant in the room, and it's not Stomper, the A's mascot, but it's baseball is probably going to expand by 2 teams, and there are several markets that make a lot of sense. Nashville makes so much sense to put a team there. There's a couple other markets that could potentially make sense, possibly Portland, possibly be the first team into Austin, possibly Charlotte. There's a lot of corporate money in both Charlotte and in Nashville. I know everyone north of the border still has hopes that the Expos will return. I would love to see the Expos return. I don't think it's going to happen. But there's lots of money to come from expansion fees for those cities. And we've not been able to. This is the longest we've gone without an expansion. The Rays and the D-backs were the last expansion before the 1998 season. We are now a quarter of the way through this century, we have not seen baseball expand once. This is the longest we've gone without an expansion. And there are lots of other markets to come around. And I really think that's one reason why the owners are like, A's, Rays, you better figure this out now, because there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of money that we've lost from COVID and from cord cutting. And so they are like, that's the reason why they said, fine, do what you want to, A's. Just get the hell out. And Rays, we'll agree to anything, just as long as you guys can get settled and we can expand by 2 more teams. And I think that's going to, the nanosecond the Rays and the A's have their shovels in the ground in St. Petersburg, and I'll believe it when I see it in Las Vegas. I actually think the A's are going to permanently stay put in Sacramento, and an expansion team will be put in Las Vegas. I don't think Las Vegas is a great market, but I digress. But that's where I think
I'm not a football guy, but I mean, I've heard that it really doesn't work for NFL. Like, it's just visiting town fans just going there.
Yeah, you could say the same thing for Orlando if that was the case.
Exactly.
Well, baseball is local interest. It's local.
Yeah.
It's not about tourists, except unless you're Wrigley Field or Fenway Park, and you have to make it be the biggest tourist attraction in the world and able to pull that off. And it's local interest.
Yeah.
And I think I think there's a lot of transplanted people there who, if there's a team they follow, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think everything about Las Vegas is a Venn diagram of the type of fandom that isn't going to work long term. I think Nashville is a perfect one. There's people with the population there has very deep roots. I think the same thing can be said about Portland. I don't think you can say that about Las Vegas. I think Tampa Bay is an underappreciated fan base. The ratings for the TV and media and other media shows that there is a fan base there. Yeah. There's just a stadium situation.
Yeah. And it being in St. Petersburg does present challenges. So I expect every game at Steinbrenner Field. I know the capacity is only 11,000, but it's going to be a sellout every night. It's going to be a party there, and that's going to be great for at least a year, maybe more than a year. But as an aside, the Rays actually could have taken one of those expansion markets. They could have had half their games in Montreal and half of them in Tampa Bay. Remember that?
That would have been insane. That would have been absolutely
one of the many things that Stu has done to not gain any fans at all. But we talk about the St. Petersburg, and there's one pet peeve that I've always had. It's when people just say Tampa. Like, it's not in Tampa. It's very different. Tampa is not St. Petersburg. And so many people, like, they just equate it. It's not the same. It's Tampa Bay, which includes St. Petersburg and Clearwater, and people don't get that outside. They think, oh, people in Tampa, they just don't go to the stadium. It's like, no, because you try getting to a stadium 25, 30 miles away with only a couple bridges in peak rush hour.
Why build the new stadium there?
Why build it? Because exactly what Kevin said, because they don't care about attendance. If the battery type situation is there, they will get more money.
Yeah, just for the national audience, Tampa is its own city in one county. St. Petersburg is one city in a completely separate county, divided by a bridge and a large body of water. And then Tampa Bay is nothing. It's a region. It's like Southern California. If I was to say
New England,
California.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is going to be a little pedantic, but I'm going to say it regardless. Why is it that they drop off the Bay when they talk about the Tampa Bay Rays? Oh, Tampa. And it's like, you don't say Green Packers. You say Green Bay.
I do.
You say Green Packers?
You're the only guy. Green Packers. That's what the kids. All the kids are doing it now.
Okay, fine. I digress.
All right. Well, do you want? We're kind of running out of time here. So, Kevin, Ulises, give me your prediction. What do you think is going to happen?
I think, March 31st is going to come and go. Stu's not going to sign any documents or papers. And over the next several months, the wheels will be in motion for a new ownership group taking over. Stu is eventually going to have to sell the team. And I think that behind closed doors, Manfred, MLB officials, they're probably talking with St. Petersburg and Pinellas County saying, hey, we're working, be patient. Let's keep this deal on the table for this new ownership group, because I know you can't stand Stu right now. This new ownership group, whoever it is, we're going to make something happen with that.
I subscribe exactly to every word that Kevin said, but just to finish, let's talk a little baseball for the next 30 seconds.
Okay, you got it.
The AL East division, it's not as uncompetitive as people are saying. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think now with the Yankees injuries, that division has opened where I would say the Red Sox are maybe being underrated, because I do think that they do have a solid team, and people are not giving them.
They had a great offseason.
Great offseason. And yeah, but obviously the pinstripes are very loud in the media market, so that happens. That tends to happen. But the Orioles are not going anywhere. That's a solid team. Did they do a lot? Not much. The Jays, on paper, they're solid, but I think I've said this for 3 years now. They're kind of like the next Chicago White Sox. Whatever happened to the Chicago White Sox? That's going to be what people are going to say about the Toronto Blue Jays, and I've been Paul revered this thing for 3 years. And the Rays, look at that pitching staff that's coming in. That's a sick one. The bullpen, the names, people don't know them. It's a sick bullpen. And the first 4 or 5 names in the bats, if healthy, they will rival anybody in that division. So I think it's wide open. This team, if everything goes well, is a 90-win team. If everything goes horrible, that's a 74-win team for the Rays.
I talked to Stacy from Locked On Yankees, and we said that we believe 10 games are going to separate first from last in the American League East. And I think only one American League team has no shot, and that's Chicago. I think there's a route, especially because I think the Astros are taking a big step back. Yeah, the A's and the Angels are long shots, but they're not. There is a route to there. There is a route to a playoff spot.
Yeah.
I think only Chicago is the only team I can honestly say has no shot. And people have slept on the Rays way too much. I am too smart a man. I don't care what the comment section says. I'm too smart a man to say, hey, you know what? The Rays, I don't know. They're going to, we don't know what the effect of them playing in an open air stadium where it's going to rain at 4:30 in the afternoon every single day without fail, how that's going to affect the team. It could be a great thing. It could be this, hey, it's a fresh breath of fresh air, literally, and with a big crowd and everything like that. You don't know. But the Rays always have one of two types of pitchers. Someone you think like, oh my God, I thought he retired 3 years ago. Or who the hell is this guy? He was a single A player last year. How does he have an ERA under 0?
Yeah.
So, I mean.
You're forgetting the third, Sully. You're forgetting. This guy sold solar panels last year, and he has a 2 ERA. That's a third one.
Yeah. This guy would be the 14th caller on WFAN, and here he is. And the greatest, the Rays, the only movie about the Rays features exactly that, a high school teacher there.
The rookie?
Yeah, absolutely. Greatest movie about a mop-up performance in a game between the Rays and the
Texas
Rangers. All right, let's bring up the trivia question. You guys would know this, but so I'll keep it simple. I'll keep it simple for the Tampa Bay. Who are the only 2 pitchers in Tampa Bay Rays history to win 20 games in a season? Don't you guys answer it. You got to put your answers right down here in the comments section here. So the only 2 pitchers to win 20 games for the Tampa Bay Rays. Put it down there. Kevin, Ulises, tell people where they can listen to your show.
YouTube, all podcast channels, Locked On Rays. You can Google it, whatever you have to do to find us. We appreciate it.
Just put 3 words on any search engine. Locked On Rays. You shall get it.
Yeah, I think people have figured that out. And you can follow us at the same thing, the exact same thing. And follow me. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the mess in St. Petersburg and the Tampa Bay region. Not Tampa.
That's right.
Bite your tongue. The Tampa Rays, the Green Packers, the New Patriots. This has been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Rays crossover. He's Kevin Weiss. He's Ulises Sambrano. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.